Well, good evening to you, one and all. We are grateful to God for, even in the midst of technical difficulties, we are yet still able to come on board with you on this evening. Kathy Dean, how are you? We pray that you are doing well and that all is well with you and yours. And again, we do apologize. Um, I guess the quote unquote streaming apparatus is really not up to par, or I just don't know what I'm doing. And um, and so, in the midst of this, we're grateful. We see that you are coming on board. We just posted that we will not be on the website, but we will be on everything else on tonight. And so, we're grateful that you are able to at least see us on tonight and that we can share with you on tonight as we continue to grow in the knowledge of the Lord. And for that, we are grateful and thankful for each and every one of you who have taken time out of hectic and crazy schedules to be a part of this learning experience. And so, for those of you that are here, Tom, good to see you. Cecile, bless the Lord. Jemison, Cora, good to have you guys on board. Made it safe. The weather, wasn't that bad. And so we're grateful to God for that. Debbie, Barbara, bless the Lord for you and yours and praying that you and your family are doing exceptionally well. Hey, Pat, how are you, Myrna? Good to have you here with us on this evening. And we're thankful to God for as many of you as are here with us on tonight. We pray that you will take care of yourselves. Please pay attention to the weather. Even though this one front, I guess, has come through, there's another one coming, and there's another one coming on Saturday into Sunday. So we want you to stay well. And so we want you to be cautious in everything that you do. Winnie, Wendy, Mary, Debbie, Lady Harrison, good evening. Debbie Johnson, oh, you're talking to your sister. I'm sorry, I jumped in there too fast. And so again, we're grateful for you, one and all. And so, Elder Carter, good to have you as well. Please share. Please share. You can still share, and if you would do that, that would be absolutely tremendous. Shirley, praying that all is well with you and yours, and that we are where we need to be, safe, sound, and still in our right minds, Minister Faye. Bless the Lord for those of you who are here with us on this evening. And it's a great evening. Listen, I want to delve down into something. Jeanette, good to have you here with us. Gladys, good to have you on board. Nancy, hello to you. One of the things that will trouble us from time to time, one of the things that will, what's the word I want to use? Good evening, Thea. The thing that bothers us or shakes us or may even cause us to doubt the power of our God is when we go through some type of painful situation. Minister Sarah, thank you so much for being here on this evening. I want us to think about this, and I think this is overwhelmingly important for us to get and to wrap our minds around. Lisa, how are you this evening? Praying all is well with you and family. Um, when something horrific happens, when an injury happens or a medical issue begins to take place. And in the midst of all of this, in the midst of everything, we wonder, where is God? Herma, how are you? Where is God in the midst of our hurt, our pain? Why does God permit certain things to continue to happen to us? And we're doing the best way we can to try to be as faithful as we should be with the Lord. We try to interact with people the way we should, and then the next thing you know, something explosive happens. And maybe none of you have ever been there. It looks like everything is going well, and then the next thing you know, the bottom drops out. Everything goes wrong. Someone you love passes on unexpectedly, or some tragedy comes along, and you wonder, where is God? Where is he in the midst of all of this? And so, the one thing that I want to talk about tonight, and I think it needs to be dealt with, it needs to be delved into, is where is he? Why is this happening? And what is the end result? And I think it is important for us to get that God does not allow things to happen without there being a goal. Mm, I wish I had 5 people that caught what I said. There's a goal, there's a purpose behind what he permits. Okay. And so, in the midst of this, when we go to James chapter 1, verses 2 and 3, this is where we're going to hang our hat on for tonight. He says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of any kind, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. I want to go through this and I want to dissect this and I want us to look at this because when we go through something, we never consider the goal. We never consider the purpose. We never consider. Thank you, James, for letting us know that we're up and running good. Um, we have to consider because here's what happens: the enemy sometimes will use these moments to get us frustrated, to get us mad, to get us angry, and in the midst of that, we lose our focus. And so, what we've got to learn. Hey, Daryl, how are you this evening? Janet, bless your heart for being here. And so we need to consider it joy. What now, where how can I find joy in a horrible situation? How is it that I can have my mind transferred and transformed when right now, Denise, I don't want to talk to anybody. I am bent out of shape. I am tore up. I don't know what to do. As a matter of fact, I don't even want to talk to anybody. And can I go a little bit deeper with it? I really don't want to talk to God. We need to consider something, consider it pure joy. Now, how can I find joy? Joy comes from an understanding, not from a feeling. Let me say this again. Joy comes from an understanding and not from a feeling. I need to say it one more time. Joy comes from an understanding and not from a feeling. What am I saying? I understand that God has a purpose. I understand that God knows what he's doing. I understand that wherever I am in life is not unbeknownst to God. I understand that in the midst of it, all of it is working together for my good because I've been called according to his purpose. These are things that you must know. These are things that must be a part of your everyday routine and talking with God and being with God. You just cannot allow your emotions to run wild on you. Hey, Jaleesa, how are you? You just cannot allow yourself to find yourself in the dirge of life, and the only thing you see is what's bad. What you see is what's going wrong. You need to count it all joy. King James Version, count it pure joy. Why? Because whatever you face, whatever trial, whatever it is, God has something better on the other side of it. Now, and I've shared this story before. Growing up in the Harrison household, I thought my parents were the meanest parents on the planet. They would not allow me to go out and hang out with other kids. It's certain things I couldn't do, certain places I couldn't go, certain things I couldn't participate in. And the thing that I didn't understand at that particular time was the fact that they knew more than me. Because, when you smelling yourself and you think you know everything and all of the rest of that, you forget that these people have been around longer than you. They have seen more than you. They have encountered more than you. They have experienced more than you. But when you're at that adolescent stage where can't nobody tell you nothing because you got it all together, and so you don't understand restrictions, you don't understand requirements, you don't understand curfews, you don't understand why certain people you can't hang out with. The reason they do it is because their perspective of your situation is different than what you see. Now that I have gotten older, now that I have children and grandchildren and great grandchildren, I understand that God sees what I don't see as a parent. We try to the very best of our ability to keep our children from going through things that we go through. We do everything within our power to protect them, but there will come a time and there will come a moment when you're going to have to let them hit it. You're going to have to let them experience it. You're going to have to let them go through what they have to go through because it builds them. Think about this for just a moment. If everything always went well the way you wanted it to go every moment of your life, what kind of person would you be? What kind of mentality or attitude would you have if you had everything as a flowery bed of ease and you never had any thorns in the midst of the flowers? You never had any moments when somebody told you no, or no, you can't do this, or no, I don't want to be bothered. All of these things build character. You could not have gone through the last rodeo if you had not conquered the past rodeo. Can I say that one more time? You cannot, it is impossible for you to go through your next episode until you have conquered the previous one that just happened. Because the Bible says it quite clearly, okay, that in the midst of this, he says he's testing your faith. See, it's easy to talk about he's a waymaker and every way is made. It's easy to talk about he's a doctor and you're not sick. It's easy to talk about he's a lawyer and you don't need one. Do I have somebody? Rhonda, how are you? But when your back is up against the wall and doctors are confused, you find out just how much of a doctor he really is. When you are in a situation and you need a lawyer to plead your case and you can't afford one and the public defender ain't doing you any good, you'll find out that he's a lawyer in a courtroom. He's a healer when doctors don't know what to do. He's your confidant. He's your comforter. You can't find these things out until you've been tested. You got to go through disappointment. You got to go through the dirge of life. You got to go through the issues of life. You got to go through the problems of life. You got to go through the pains of life. You got to go through the uncertainties of life because it's the uncertainties that develop faith. Is there anybody here tonight who can testify to the fact that when I went through stuff and I didn't know how I was going to come out of it, some way in the midst of this, God developed faith? I'll tell you a story. I had the knee done about 3 months ago, whatever the case may be. In the beginning of the process, I said, "Oh, this thing is just going to fly through with no problem. I'll have this together." And when the process slowed down, and when the pain continued, and this kept happening, and that kept happening, and this went wrong, and that went wrong. And when I say went wrong, it went wrong in my own mind. It wasn't that it went wrong; it wasn't operating according to my schedule. Do I have 5 people who will testify to the fact that every now and then life gets frustrating, Iris, when it doesn't go according to your schedule? You have already predetermined what's going to happen. You don't already predetermine how it's going to be. And so while I go through that and I go through what I go through, and when I went through the manipulation, and I went through this and I went through that and I went through the other, I became frustrated. Why? Because this stuff ain't working. I should be more flexible than this. The swelling should be down. All of these. Then what happens? I hope y'all ready for this. Then what happens when you think you have failed? Success shows up. You didn't catch that, did you? When you think you have failed is when success shows up. Go to the physical therapist. I'm already down and out. Of course, you don't see the down and out. I'm already been out of shape. Of course, you don't see, and they don't see it. But in the back of my mind, I'm not doing any better than what I did the last time. And the next thing you know, you're doing better. You've made a higher mark than the last time you were there. I'm telling you, there was one time when he told me how much my leg had stretched to, I was ready to start shouting on the table. Why? Why? Because the way I looked at things was not the way the therapist looked at things. And it wasn't the way God has orchestrated things. Do I have 5 people that's understand? Surely you know what I'm talking about. And so God works out things no matter how painful, no matter how perplexing, no matter how the issue may be. Every bit of it is working together because what is he doing? He's increasing. You don't need faith when all your bills are paid. You don't need faith when there's no sickness in your body. You don't need faith when everything is going well. You need faith to face the impossible. You need faith that encourages you in the midst of all of your madness. You need faith, because I need to say this, and you might get upset with me, but I'm going to say it anyway. You can't ride off of someone else's faith. You must have, Jesus said, if you just have faith of a grain of mustard seed and say to the mountain, you got to go, it happens. And so you've got to develop your own faith. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? Because God is with me, but you won't know God is with you until you go through the valley of the shadow of death, and until you recognize that the shadow of death is just a shadow, and a shadow can't hurt you. In the midst of this, these are things that you have to learn. Hey, Jasmine, dear, how are you? You have to go through something. I tell people this all the time. You do not have a testimony until you've been tested. Sabrina, how are you, dear? You cannot have a testimony until you have gone through trials and tribulations, and here's the thing that is so beautiful about how God orchestrates this whole thing. While you're going through what you're going through is not just for you, it's for somebody else you don't even know anything about, that is going to come your way, and you will be able to encourage them in the midst of their moment, to let them know that the same God that encouraged you, the same God that held you up, the same God that strengthened you, the same God that encouraged. Listen, you now share that with somebody else. You go through what you go through. You go through what you go through so that somebody else can be the beneficiary. Not talking about beneficiary because you died, but you're the beneficiary because you are able to convey to them in real terms, not in theory, but in real terms, that God is on your side. Did you catch that? Did you get so here's what it says. Here's what it says, and this is important for us to get to recognize and understand. Consider it all joy whenever you face the trials of any kind, because knowing that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. It's just like someone who has decided that they're going to be an athlete, whether it's basketball, football, hockey, whatever the case may be. Just because you've decided to do it doesn't mean that your body is able to do it and that you're equipped to do it. Here we go. Here we go. I got to deal with this, because what has to happen is you must, first of all, prepare yourself mentally that you are going to do what you say you're going to do. Now, it doesn't do enough for you to think about it. You got to take those thoughts and put them into activities and exercising and doing what need to be done, weightlifting, whatever the case may be, to strengthen your body so that you can be the best at whatever athletic pursuit that you want to pursue. You can't get out there and ain't never worked out and don't think that they ain't gonna run you over. You can't get out there and act like everything is just fine and you have not done your due diligence in making sure, hey, LMA, and making sure that you have exercise, you have worked out, and then you got to make sure you got the right trainer. You got to have the trainer to show you what you need to do to develop parts of your body that you don't know anything about. Because when you get out there on the field of battle, whether it's football, basketball, or whatever the case may be, you got to be strong enough to deal with your opponent. And if you don't have, that's right, it's a process. If you don't have the skill sets, Shirley, if you don't have the skill set, the next thing you know, you sitting on the bench. But you ain't just sitting on the bench. You sitting on the bench, toe up from the floor up, wounded, hurting, and they're probably going to put you in that blue tent. And then the next thing you know, they done took you out of there because the injuries that you have experienced have crippled you to the point that you can't get back out on the field. God says, because I want you on the field, I'm going to send you through something. I'm going to allow some things to happen. I'm going to have some devastating moments come into your life. And when they do, they're going to develop you, because I've got a bigger challenge and I got more people that need to see how you come through that challenge. Because guess what? I'm working this out for your good. And I'm making sure that you understand in no uncertain terms, okay, that all of this is strengthening you. All of this is teaching you how to persevere. Need to talk about that for just a moment, and then I'll let you go. What is perseverance? I'm glad you asked me that question. Perseverance is the ability to press on even when you don't want to. Y'all missed that. Y'all missed that. Y'all missed that. Yes, y'all did. Y'all miss that. Perseverance is the ability to press on even when you don't want to. Perseverance tells you you might want to quit, but there's still more to you. You may say to yourself, I'm not doing nothing else. I done had enough of this. I ain't taking no more. Perseverance says there's still a little more fuel in the tank. Let's get this thing done. Perseverance says, oh, I know you want to quit, but I ain't going to let you quit because guess what? I'm going to bother you and I'm going to bug you until you get up and do what you have been enabled and equipped to do. Perseverance tells you, let me go a little bit further with this. Perseverance tells you you don't need no encouragement from anybody else. You don't need no data boys from anybody else. You don't need any data girl from anybody else. Perseverance tells you if don't one person tell you you can make it, you've learned how to do that yourself. Y'all remember when David came back to Ziklag and everything was burned? He didn't have a friend nowhere. Matter of fact, his soldiers were ready to kill him. And guess what he said? He said, I'm going to encourage myself in the Lord. Juanita, bless your heart. You've got to learn how to tell yourself, let me get up from here and do what God has called me to do. You've got to tell yourself, I know I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. You've got to tell yourself, though he slay me, yet will I trust. You've got to tell yourself, I am the head, not the tail. I refuse to sit down and feel sorry for myself when the God of my salvation has equipped me for victory. Mm, mm, mm. Have you ever had a moment when you sat down and said, that's it, no more, not being bothered? And the next thing you know, the songwriter says something within, something on the inside of you says, let's try this again. Most of your successful people in life were greater failures than they were successes. Y'all didn't catch that. Were greater failures than they were successes, but they persevered. And in their perseverance and in their stick to itiveness and in their determination to know who they are, to know whose they are, they became what God had already preordained for them to be. There's a greater you on the inside of you than what you see on the outside of you. Well, I got to go. I've kept you long enough. I pray I kept you long enough. Just wanted to drop that in your spirit for just a moment. Thank you for being so kind in the midst of all of the technical difficulties, for you to be able to come here and allow me to share these few moments with you and to let you know. And I want you to know, and I believe that God has preordained for me to teach on the promises of God. I hope you're ready for this. So you'll understand that you are worthy of his promise. Mm, 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 mm. You cannot allow your past, your mistakes, or your issues to get in the way of what God has preordained for you to be. Love you all with the love of Jesus Christ. Thank you so much for allowing me to pour into you for these few moments, Minister Marcia, for these few moments, just to share a little something with you that will allow you that when you get up in the morning, you know, new mercies get up with you, new grace gets up with you, opportunity gets up with you, challenges get up with you, but perseverance also gets up with you so that you can have a very powerful and a very productive day. Y'all be blessed. Please be safe. Take care. May God bless you. May he keep you is our prayer.